We all think I Love Lucy was all laughter, love, and black and white charm. But behind that smiling facade was tragedy. Producers controlled marriages, actors came terrifyingly close to death, and CBS forced the cast to sign contracts swearing never to reveal what really happened behind the cameras. For years, they kept quiet. But now, the silence is broken. Here are 20 weird facts CBS never wanted you to know about the show that changed television forever. Fact 1. The grape fight that nearly killed Lucille Ball. There's something you should know about that Lucy's Italian movie scene. Do you remember the woman fighting Lucille Ball in that vat of grapes? She wasn't just rough. She didn't understand a word anyone said. Desi Arnaz had found Teresa Torelli, a real vineyard worker from Italy, to give the scene authenticity. She'd never acted before, didn't speak English, and thought the fight was real. When Lucy accidentally hit her, Teresa thought it was on purpose. She retaliated, grabbed her, slammed her under the grapes, and started choking her. The studio audience laughed, thinking Lucy was doing one of her physical gags. Meanwhile, Lucy was suffocating, grapes jammed in her nose, ears, mouth. The director didn't yell, "Cut." He thought it was brilliant acting. When Lucy finally surfaced, gasping, she was shaken and bruised. But she didn't tell Teresa what really happened. She just smiled, washed off the grape juice, and walked back on set. Later, she joked, "To drown in a vat of grapes was not the way I planned to go." Now, can you still laugh at that scene the same way? I don't think you can anymore. Fact 2. The candy factory slap that left Lucy dazed. Everyone remembers the candy factory episode, the one where Lucy and Ethel try to keep up with an endless line of chocolates. It's truly pure chaos. But here's the secret. That scene left Lucille Ball bruised and dazed. At first, Desi Arnaz wanted realism, so he hired an actual candy maker named Amanda Milligan to play Lucy's co-worker. Problem was, Amanda had never acted. She didn't understand stage fighting. She only knew real life. 30 years in a candy factory, 8 hours a day. She'd never even seen an episode of I Love Lucy. During the take, she was supposed to playfully slap Lucy. Instead, she wound up and cracked her across the face so hard that Lucy thought her nose was broken. The audience gasped, but Lucy didn't break character. She powered through, tears in her eyes, finishing the scene like a pro. When the cameras stopped, someone asked Amanda if she enjoyed acting. Her answer? "I've never been so bored in my life." And that's the kind of story that tells you who Lucille Ball really was. Fact 3. The secret that destroyed Lucy and Desi's marriage. On screen, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz were the picture of happiness, the perfect couple who made millions laugh. But behind the laughter was a love story rotting from the inside. Desi wasn't just the charming Cuban bandleader everyone adored. He was a man living a double life. While Lucy spent nights memorizing lines and keeping I Love Lucy running smoothly, Desi was out drinking, gambling, and disappearing into Hollywood's nightlife. By 1953, whispers had turned into proof. Confidential magazine, the most feared tabloid in America, had photos, witnesses, and stories about Desi's affairs. Executives panicked. Lucy begged them to kill the story. Desi promised to change. But the issue hit the stands anyway, quoting him bragging that Lucy shouldn't complain because he only cheated with sex workers, not other women. The scandal shook Hollywood. CBS feared the show would collapse, but America refused to give them up. I Love Lucy was too loved to die. They continued to act, but something inside her broke. In 1960, after filming their final kiss on the Lucy-Desi Comedy Hour, Lucy filed for divorce. That kiss wasn't acting. It was farewell. Fact 4. The hidden addiction of Fred Mertz. You've seen him, the grumpy landlord, hands in his pockets barking at Lucy and Ricky. But behind those pockets was a secret he couldn't hide. William Frawley, who played Fred Mertz, was an alcoholic. He'd been one for years, so CBS didn't want to hire him at all. They thought he was a risk. Desi Arnaz vouched for him, but gave him one warning. If you show up drunk once, you're out. Frawley sobered up enough to keep his job, but the tremors from withdrawal never left him. His hands shook so badly he started keeping them buried deep in his pockets. Audiences thought it was just his character's cranky posture. In reality, he hid his illness in plain sight. So now, every time you see Fred Mertz smirking with his hands tucked away, you're watching a man fighting his demons and winning, at least for that moment. Fact 5. The real bread loaf that crushed Lucy. Some props are fake. This one wasn't. For the episode Pioneer Women, Lucy and Ethel bake bread that grows out of control and bursts from the oven. It looks hilarious. A giant loaf trapping Lucy against the kitchen cabinets. But what most people don't know is that loaf was 100% real. Lucille Ball insisted on authenticity. She didn't want foam or cardboard. She wanted a real bakery to make an enormous loaf. So producers ordered an 8-foot rye bread from Union Mode Bakery in Los Angeles. When the oven door opened, the weight of that loaf slammed into Lucy like a sandbag. She wasn't acting when she stumbled. It actually hurt. The crew cut the cameras, worried she'd been injured. But Lucy laughed it off, and then did the scene again. After filming, the cast and audience literally broke bread together, tearing pieces from the leftover loaf and eating it right there on set. Fact 6. The war between Fred and Ethel was real. Do you remember the snappy back and forth between Fred and Ethel? The constant bickering that made you laugh wasn't acting. William Frawley and Vivian Vance, who played the Mertzes, despised each other in real life. The hate was instant. Day 1, table read. Vivian, a polished Broadway actress, took one look at her older, gruff co-star and whispered, "They expect the audience to believe I married that old man?" Frawley heard it. He never forgave her. From then on, it was open warfare. He called her names on set. That sack of doorknobs. The cow. She fired back with icy silence. They wouldn't even sit together during breaks. Yet somehow, when the cameras rolled, their chemistry was electric. Do you feel that tension in their scenes? It's real. Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz begged them to keep it professional, and to their credit, they did. But when I Love Lucy wrapped, Vivian reportedly said, "If they put me in the same cemetery as him, I'll haunt them both." She really meant it. Fact 7. The studio fight that nearly got Lucy fired. For all her charm, Lucille Ball was not the submissive sweetheart CBS wanted her to be. Behind the cameras, she fought tooth and nail for control, and one fight almost ended her career. It happened early in the series when studio executives decided they didn't like her hair. They wanted it darker, softer, less loud. But Lucy's bright red curls were her signature, the look she'd built over years in Hollywood. When she refused to change it, the network called her difficult. One exec even threatened to replace her if she didn't tone down the look and the attitude. Lucy didn't flinch. She stormed into Desi's office and said, "If they want another girl, let them find one who can do what I do." Desi backed her completely. He told CBS that no one could play Lucy Ricardo but Lucille Ball. If she walked, he would too. The standoff ended with the network folding, and Lucy keeping both her hair and her power. Fact 8. The cigarette smuggling scandal. Lucille Ball was supposed to be the perfect spokesperson for Philip Morris, the show's million-dollar sponsor. They paid her to smoke their brand on camera, smile, and sell that image of sophistication. But Lucy had a secret. She hated Philip Morris cigarettes. She was a die-hard Chesterfield girl. So what did she do? She cheated the sponsor, literally. Every filming day, stagehands would empty the Philip Morris packs and secretly refill them with Chesterfields. Lucy would puff away on her favorite smokes while the sponsor thought she was doing her job. It was quiet rebellion at its finest, a Hollywood star outsmarting corporate America in plain sight. The crew knew, Desi knew, but nobody talked. If Philip Morris had found out, they could have pulled millions in funding and tanked the show overnight. Fact 9. The ghost that told Lucy to take the job. The strangest story of all came before I Love Lucy even began. A ghost story. And Lucy swore every word was true. In 1950, CBS offered her a chance to bring her radio show, My Favorite Husband, to television. She hesitated. She was terrified of failing in the new medium. That night, she had a dream, one she'd tell for decades. In it, her close friend Carole Lombard, the screwball comedy star who'd died in a plane crash 8 years earlier, appeared to her wearing a crisp white suit. Carole smiled and said, "Take a chance, honey. Give it a whirl." Then she disappeared. Lucy woke up in tears, and the next day, she signed the contract. She told the story later with a mix of awe and gratitude. "Carole came to me," she said softly. "She told me to do it." And I listened. That ghostly message changed everything. Without it, I Love Lucy might never have existed. Fact 10. The pregnancy CBS tried to ban. When Lucille Ball discovered she was pregnant in 1952, she did something no one in Hollywood had dared before. She turned her real life into television. She wanted Lucy Ricardo to be pregnant too, but CBS and sponsor Philip Morris were horrified. In that era, the word pregnant was considered indecent. You could show a bar fight or a hangover, but not motherhood. Lucy refused to back down. She told the network, "If we're going to show marriage, let's show life." After weeks of fighting, CBS reluctantly agreed. On one absurd condition, the word pregnant could never be said on air. So, Lucy told Ricky she was expecting. When she interrupted his nightclub show and he sang, "We're having a baby," millions cried and laughed at once. It was the first time a pregnant woman appeared on American TV. But behind that sweet scene, panic set in. How would they keep the show alive while Lucy recovered? Desi Arnaz had an insane idea: re-air old episodes. No one had ever done that. The studio scoffed, but he did it anyway. The ratings soared, and just like that, from one woman's pregnancy and one husband's gamble, reruns, and an entire billion-dollar TV industry were born. Fact 11. The lost pilot that vanished for 40 years. Imagine creating the first episode of the most famous sitcom in TV history, and then losing it for 4 decades. That's exactly what happened with I Love Lucy. The original pilot, filmed in 1951, the one that launched everything, simply disappeared. CBS had no copy. Archivists searched for years. It was like it never existed. Fans thought it had been destroyed forever. Then, in 1990, a miracle. A dusty film canister turned up in the home of an old family friend. Pepito the Clown, a real vaudeville performer who appeared in that first episode. Hidden in his belongings was the only surviving print, perfectly preserved. When CBS aired it that spring, 40 million people tuned in. What they saw wasn't the polished version of Lucy and Ricky they remembered. It was raw, awkward, real. A time capsule of comedy history. It's hard to believe, but the first step in Lucy's legacy almost vanished completely. Without one forgotten clown and a dusty attic, we might never have seen how I Love Lucy truly began. Fact 12. The power couple who outsmarted CBS. Here's the part they don't teach in film school. Lucy and Desi didn't just star in I Love Lucy, they owned it. When CBS said the show was too expensive to film, Lucy and Desi did something unheard of. They took $5,000 from their own savings and paid for the pilot themselves. But they made one brilliant condition: full ownership of the show. CBS agreed, thinking it was a small risk. Then I Love Lucy exploded. It became the biggest hit in America, and suddenly that little condition turned the couple into multi-millionaires. Every rerun, every syndication check, all went to Desilu Productions, their company. By 1957, they used that fortune to buy RKO Studios, the same studio where Lucy had once been just another actress waiting for a line. Now, she owned the place. They turned Desilu into a powerhouse, producing Star Trek and The Untouchables. Lucy didn't just break the glass ceiling, she bought the whole building. Fact 13. The FBI files that never closed. You'd think after surviving the Red Scare, Lucille Ball would finally be left alone. But the truth? She never really got off the hook. After she testified in front of Congress, saying she only registered as a communist to please her grandfather, the committee cleared her. The public forgave her. The show went on. But one man didn't: J. Edgar Hoover. The FBI director personally kept tabs on her for years. Agents followed her to public events, monitored her mail, and filed reports about Desi's rumored drinking and gambling. In Hoover's eyes, fame didn't erase suspicion, it magnified it. There are hundreds of pages in her FBI file. Notes about her politics, her friends, even her jokes. All because she once checked the wrong box on a voter form 20 years earlier. Fact 14. The scene that made Lucille Ball collapse. There's a moment in I Love Lucy that fans still laugh at. But if you knew what happened behind it, you'd never see it the same way again. It was the Vita Vegamin episode, one of the most famous in TV history. Lucy, standing in front of a camera pretending to pitch a health tonic, takes spoonful after spoonful of the syrupy liquid, getting progressively more drunk as she tries to keep her balance. It looks hilarious. But by the fourth take, Lucille Ball wasn't pretending anymore. The tonic was supposed to be harmless apple pectin, but after hours of filming and dozens of takes, Lucy had consumed so much of it that she became lightheaded and physically ill. Her hands trembled, her speech slurred, not just in character but for real. Crew members said she had to sit down immediately after filming, shaking from exhaustion. That scene, the one audiences called the funniest thing on TV, ended with Lucy fainting in the wings, pale and dizzy. She brushed it off with a joke, but insiders said she didn't film again for 2 days. Fact 15. The phone numbers that weren't so fake. Here's a creepy one. Those phone numbers Lucy and Ricky gave out on the show? They were real. Back in the 1950s, phone numbers weren't random digits. They were tied to neighborhoods. Murray Hill 5 wasn't just a joke. It was an actual Manhattan exchange. If CBS had picked the wrong number, fans could have called a real person. And they would have, non-stop. So to stop the chaos, the network worked with New York Bell Telephone to create fake but functional numbers. Ones that looked real, sounded real, but didn't connect to anyone. Or at least, that was the plan. Years later, some collectors claimed those fake numbers eventually got reassigned, meaning anyone dialing Murray Hill 59975 decades later might have actually reached someone's living room. Imagine answering your phone to hear, "Hi, is Ricky Ricardo there?" It was so eerie. Fact 16. The door that never locked. There's something weird you've probably never noticed about I Love Lucy. Across 180 episodes, Lucy and Ricky never once used a key to get into their own apartment. Not once. They'd come home, turn the knob, walk right in, as if Manhattan was the safest place on earth. But this wasn't a simple oversight. It was deliberate. The producers wanted the Ricardos' home to feel like a stage, always open, always ready for chaos. The result was surreal, a world where neighbors barged in, misunderstandings exploded, and laughter replaced logic. But the symbolism runs deeper. That unlocked door mirrored Lucy's life. The woman who invited millions of strangers into her home every week while her real world stayed locked behind the camera. Even after 70 years, I Love Lucy still hides more secrets than it ever revealed. Which facts shocked you the most? The laughter, the lies, or the lives it nearly destroyed? Tell us in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe, because the next story Hollywood tried to bury might be even darker.